Hi, I'm Charlie, and welcome to Hellhound's Run. Tonight's creepypasta is I Met the Man Who Hunts Cthulhu's Love Child. This is the second in the Dave series, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I had fun writing it. Remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. My name's Dave, and you might remember me as the bartender at the Hellhound Bar. I thought the last story would be the only one I'd have to tell, but here I am again. Honestly, I'm not sure what would happen if the owner ever found out I was sharing these stories, but I don't think he'd be too pleased. After what I saw the last time, I'm concerned, but really, who would believe me anyway? Anyone reading this would think I was just a bad writer who couldn't find original material. Weird things just keep happening. Working here is strange enough. Every afternoon when I open up, I feel like I'm being watched. I keep hearing these weird gurgling sounds from under the bar. Last night I was closing and saw a puddle of beer spilled on the floor. Normally I'd wipe it up, but I was out on my feet. Some of the patrons had decided to light their darts on fire to make the annual dart tournament more competitive. Normally I would have mopped up the spill, but I thought I could just do it in the morning. It's not like the floor doesn't have a lot of stains already, though I've never figured out why most of them are dark brown. We don't sell wine. Anyway, this morning I came in to find one of my clean bar rags pinned to the bar with a rusty knife. The rag was covered in what smelled like old beer. Weird, right? It's been about a week since the whole thing with Daniel, and I was finally managing to convince myself it never happened. Tentacle hentai monsters just don't exist, right? It was another slow Tuesday afternoon. Marcus was sitting in the booth, stinking up the corner by the front door, and I was half wiping the bar and daydreaming about the girl at the church down the street. I'm not one for religion, but even I had a problem with the concept of the Church of the Goldfish. Standing behind the bar in a semi-daze, I wasn't focused on the door, which is when it flew open, making a screeching sound before slamming into the wall behind it. I jumped, and maybe I screamed a little. Thankfully, the slam of the door against the wall drowned it out. Silhouetting the doorway was a tall figure. His long coat blew in the breeze from outside as he waited in the doorway, like some dime store novel hero. I don't know what possessed Marcus, but he jumped up, yelling like all of hell was on his heels, and charged at the silhouetted figure. I honestly thought Marcus was going to run right through the guy and knock him down. Instead, the figure punched Marcus dead in his face. Remember those old cartoons where the character gets punched and the head stops but the feet keep going? Yeah, it was like that. The meaty thud of old wino crashing into the polished wood made me wince as Marcus hit the ground. The figure in the doorway didn't flinch. No reaction at all. After a few seconds, the figure stepped over Marcus into the bar. He used his foot to shove Marcus' body out of the way and closed the door. As my eyes adjusted to the glaring portal of light, I could see the figure was a tall, thin man with black hair and 5 o'clock shadow he probably had to shave twice a day. He wore an old black cowboy hat that had some age on it and a long black duster. Under the brim of the hat, his eyes were as hard as sapphires and about as warm. He walked slowly up to the bar. He slammed a gold coin on the bar. "Whiskey," he said, "and leave the bottle." His voice was cultured, educated, not the growl I was expecting. I picked up the coin and looked at it. It was real gold and rough around the edges. The coin was stamped with some kind of horror face on one side and 2 crossed swords on the other. "Hey man, we don't take money for cosplay here," I said. Where else would you get something like that, right? He looked me dead in the eye with the emphasis on dead. "That's a demon denarius. They're good anywhere." Again, I was impressed with the culture in his voice. It was almost soothing from such an intimidating figure. His hand struck out, snaking the coin from my fingers. "This," and he held the coin up before my eyes, "is worth 5 bottles of whiskey, Dave." My guts froze. How did he know my name? Like, seriously, the only other person who had known my name without me telling them was Daniel. He slammed the coin back onto the bar. "Now give me the bottle, Dave, before I get unpleasant." He looked like the poster child for Cowboys from Hell, and I took the coin slowly off the bar. "So, do you need something for your horse too?" I asked. I know it wasn't smart, but the gerbils took over once they stopped being frozen in fear. Yeah, okay, but if I was gonna die, it was going to be as my true self, the smartass who was too stupid to live. I was staring at the man, honestly waiting to die, when I heard a high-pitched scream coming from my hand. I yelped and dropped the coin. Maybe I peed on myself a little, and yes, maybe I sounded like a frightened 10-year-old watching a horror movie. But what else could I do? The coin continued screaming as it rattled to the bar. The man roared with laughter as I leapt back from the coin on the bar. His whole body shook with mirth, and he gasped for air. Hi, I'm Dave, and welcome to my second mental breakdown. I looked at the coin on the bar, which had landed face up. Even the face on the coin was contorted in laughter at my reaction. If I thought the owner of the bar had a sense of humor, I would have been looking for cameras, sure that I was going to be the next fool on Funny Videos International. I'm sorry, young sir, the man said, but that joke never gets old. He then pulled a wad of cash from his pocket, peeled off 2 $100 bills and placed them on the bar. For your trouble, and for the whiskey, barkeep. Okay, so for that kind of tip, the guy could play all the pranks he wanted. I mean, who needs self-respect, right? Not I thought to myself, and heard the tiny squeaky laugh of derision from my imaginary mental gerbils. I set the long-necked bottle of whiskey on the bar. 3 questions, I said. 1, how did you know my name? 2, what the hell is that coin? And 3, why did you have to pick this bar of all places? The man poured a shot of whiskey and slammed it back. Young man, your name is written on your soul right there on your chest. The demon denarius I brought back from my vacation, though your description may be more accurate. And I picked this bar as it is the last place where I can find who I am looking for. What's your name? I asked suspiciously. I had a bad feeling where this was going. Oh boy, did I have a bad feeling. My name is Hunter, and I am hunting a customer of yours, he said with a contorted smile. Even the gerbils were frozen. This guy couldn't be the one Daniel had mentioned. I mean, Daniel wasn't real, right? He was the product of my overworked mind, or at least some really good drugs someone slipped me. None of that really happened. It couldn't have. Hunter smiled again. Have you heard of me, Dave? He asked. The shadows seemed to move around him like old friends as his voice got lower. I felt trapped in the icy blue of his gaze, like a squirrel frozen in the headlights of the truck right before there was a squeal, a thump, and it entered the squirrely pearly gates. I stood with my back firmly against the shelves full of bottles behind the bar. This wasn't happening again. Maybe I really was a resident at Grippy Socks Farms and I was on a bad trip. I mean, maybe there were hot nurses? Couldn't I have hot nurses? With my luck, they'd be from a horror video game, but a guy can dream, right? There was a guy in here last week. He mentioned a man named Hunter. But you can't be him. And why can't I be him, Dave? Hunter asked. Because none of that really happened, I kind of asked, hoping I was right. Don't worry, Dave. I didn't believe I'd met him either, right up until I woke up in hell, Hunter said. You know, dying isn't that bad. It's the coming back that's rough. I guess that gives a whole new meaning to unboxing video, huh? I asked without thinking. What was wrong with me? Here lies Dave. He died saying something sarcastic. Yes, Dave, it really does, Hunter confirmed, though I don't think he really got it, which was probably good for me, to be honest. So, woke up in hell, huh? I asked, though I was sure I didn't want to know. See, this is how I get in trouble. I ask questions and people answer. Then monsters appear in the sky, and I get slapped around like a hooker short $20. If there was a winner of the Darwin Awards, I would be grand champion. Yes, Dave, woke up in hell, or as I like to call it, my vacation. That's a hell of an idea of a vacation, I said. So how did that happen? Do you really want to know, Dave? He asked. Some people find it traumatic. Dude, I just pour drinks. If you want to talk, you can. If not, you don't have to. I've learned to respect privacy in here, I said while gesturing vaguely around the bar. Customer service, thy name is Dave. No, Dave. I will tell you. I will tell you, and then you will tell me where Daniel is. I felt a warm menace deep in the cockles of my soul. Cockles. Never gets old, really. I was a normal enough man. Family, 2 kids, boring accounting job. I was your average middle American who never thought too much and never questioned my world. I went to the park on my lunch one day and sat down beside a stranger on a park bench. I really didn't want my ham sandwich. The same lunch every day. So I began feeding the bread to the birds. The stranger started talking to me, told me a strange story. I didn't believe it, but he was so very compelling. When he finished his story, I sat in silence for several moments. Before I could process his story, the lake in front of us exploded. I could not understand what I was seeing. A thing erupted from the lake and attacked us. I saw an arm, something, coming at my head before some type of sucker or mouth attached to my head. Hunter stopped for a minute and slammed down another shot. I woke up in a strange place, like a desert with no wind, a desert on fire. I don't know how long I stumbled through that desert. Hours, weeks, months. I do not know. At some point I was attacked. I was beaten, tortured, brutalized is a good term. I'd never been in a fight in my life, and I guess I still hadn't been since I was dead. But I fought there. I fought, I bled, I healed, and I changed. Eventually I escaped. I have no idea how long I ran, the howling of their hounds chasing me, before I found a valley. In the center were standing stones, horrible spiked black glass and stone, like the teeth of some long-dead demon left in the sand. The hounds chased me into the center of the ring of stones. And suddenly, I was back in my body, just being fed into the furnace of the crematorium. It must have been a shock for the guy in the funeral home when I started beating on the inside of the furnace to let me out. Hunter sat for a minute, brooding. He brooded so intensely it felt like meditation, like the strength of his broodiness could tilt the universe. Hunter slowly reached out, poured another shot, and drained it. Everything for the next few weeks is a blur, he continued. I stumbled around back alleys, hiding, wondering when the hounds would find me. Finally, I was found. Not by the hounds, but by a woman. Feeling like I was sinking, I interrupted him. Let me guess, she knew Daniel too? I don't know why I felt compelled to say this. It just shot out of my mouth. Like so many times, my mouth was just living its best life and damn the rest of me. Yes, she knew Daniel too, he said. And like myself, her life had been horribly altered by such a meeting. Her name is Grace, and if you have not met her yet, you will soon, Dave. She follows his trail like a thrall hoping to end her own torment. Geez, dude, this is getting heavy. Like, can't you all just get along? I asked. He might kill me, but dude, I didn't want to be dead and depressed. Guy really needed some happy in his life, even undead happy or whatever. I could suddenly feel intensity roll off Hunter like it had weight. His face was hidden in shadow, but his sapphire eyes glowed. Get along, he whispered. Then he thundered, get along? Daniel is the reason I lost my life, my family, everything, Dave. Have you ever had your head swallowed by a giant tentacle mouth, Dave? Do you know how horrible that is? Hunter yelled at me. He was literally frothing at the mouth now. No, but I think I saw this once on the internet, or something anyway, I said. Why did I say that? What is wrong with me? Dude was going to think I was a total perv. I prayed he'd let me clear my browser history before he killed me. Hunter stopped immediately. That's gross, Dave, he said. Like you have a problem, don't you? It was one time at band camp, okay, I said. Even the gerbils were on strike. They didn't want to be part of this conversation either. Wash your hands before you touch my glass next time, Hunter said. You're from hell and you're giving me grief, I asked. There are limits, Dave, even there, he said. He lifted his glass to take another shot, looked at it, and put it back down. Let's get to the end of this, shall we? Where's Daniel? I started stammering. He was in about a week ago, and I'm not sure what happened. I saw things I don't understand. Then he was just gone. You saw things like you do on the internet, Dave? He asked. I kind of felt like he was mocking me. Grabbing every ounce of courage I had, I said, more like the roof came off and something giant and evil reached in here with about 100 tentacles to fight Daniel. The last time I saw him, he was running out the door screaming at his dad. I woke up on the floor a few minutes later like it never happened. It was the truth. I couldn't believe it, but I had lived it. It was like crystal dripping in my mind. I hadn't been able to face it until now, but it had really happened. I suddenly felt free, liberated, as if a weight had been lifted from me. Hunter stared at me as if he could see it, like he could see it all click into place inside of me. He sat back slowly and tilted his hat back. I'm sorry, Dave, I've misjudged you. It seems you are as much a prisoner here as I am. Prisoner, I asked. What do you mean, prisoner? I was still in a foggy, far-off place processing the truth I had just realized. I knew it was all real and didn't know how to deal with knowing it. Yeah, it was confusing to me, too. The walls of the bar shuddered once as though the building were giving off a warning. Hunter looked around for a minute. I've said too much and I will not be disrespectful. I need to leave before Daniel gets too far ahead. Hunter stood and simultaneously pulled his hat low on his head and slammed back a final shot. Be careful, Dave, he warned. You are at the center of events far larger than you can imagine. Hunter turned and started towards the door as the walls shuddered again. I had never seen such a scary man move so fast, but I'd never seen walls shudder like they were growling either. Just as Hunter reached the door, he turned back to me. Be careful, Dave. All is not what it seems here. This is the start of this journey. You will see things, experience things you never have before. But do not forget what has gone before. And with that cryptic soliloquy, he turned and slid out of the bar. I don't know how long I stood motionless in the bar. I think it was Marcus moaning from the floor that brought me to my senses. What did he mean I was a prisoner here? What had come before? Even the gerbils in my head didn't have an answer for that one. Sighing, I grabbed a mop from the closet at the back of the bar. I'd better mop up Marcus's blood, and probably other things, before someone pinned another nasty rag to the bar covered in wino piss this time. Where had that knife come from anyway?